It's currently snowing and like... Hello! Today I present to you the Ultimate Christmas Gift Guide book edition. There is something in there for absolutely everybody. You can either buy these for yourselves, buy them for a friend, buy them for a family member. I've sorted all these books into very niche subcategories, so if you know someone who fits under one of these categories, I recommend you buy the book that I mentioned, okay? Okay, let's go. So first of all, I've got for the feminists and for the strong, independent women out there, but also for the lovers of classics. I recently read Women and Power by Mary Beard. If that name rings a bell, she is a very famous person in the classics community. She has done a lot of lectures and videos and books about like ancient history, all of that. Very interesting. Anyway, this book is all about women in power over the last few centuries. So it goes back to the Roman times and the Greek times. It also stretches through the more modern centuries, and it's just a really interesting, fast-paced read. I think it's about 150 pages long. It's very small and aesthetically pleasing. I don't have it on me, but I think it would be a lovely gift for someone who just loves that kind of topic, which should be everyone, by the way. The next category I've got is for the lovers of nature and those who obsessively watch Blue Planet. Me. Blue Planet, in case you don't know, is a fantastic animal documentary series narrated by David Attenborough, my love. He's done so many animal documentaries, they're all fantastic. In fact, if you love any of those or you know someone who loves that type of thing, I've got the perfect book for you. I've mentioned it before, but it is called Animal Dialogues by Craig Child. And this book basically, chapter by chapter, goes through different animal encounters he has had. I've read, I'd say, about a third of it. It's one of those books you don't have to read in one sitting. You can kind of just dip in when you feel like reading a chapter about some good animals. It is beautifully written and it's just quite a nice, thoughtful present for someone who loves animals / David Attenborough. It's not written by David Attenborough. You could also give them a David Attenborough book, I suppose. Oh my god, I love that man. So the next category I've got written down is, I did warn you, this is very niche, for the lovers of Spielberg. And then in brackets I've put the director, as if there are so many Spielbergs in the world. Anyway, for the lovers of Spielberg, as you may know, there is a new film coming out soon, Ready Player One. However, can I just say that you need to read the book before you watch the film, okay? Okay, always read the book first, in my humble opinion, and what better book to buy someone this Christmas than Ready Player One? If you haven't already read this, this is one of my favourite of all time. It is about an apocalyptic future where people, to escape reality, go into a virtual reality video game world. And it's awesome, it's full of nerdy references, and even if the film does turn out great, the book is always better. But even worse, if the film turns out not so great, I don't want people to be put off from reading the book. So, do yourself a favour this Christmas. If you're planning on watching the film, read the book first. Next category I've got written down is for the lovers of US comedies. Now this is oddly and perhaps unnecessarily specific. By this category I just meant a present you could buy for someone who loves a certain TV show or loves a certain actor in a TV show is their memoir. I said in comedies specifically because like those people are usually funnier because they're comedians and all of that. The example I have here is Amy Poehler's memoir, Yes Please. This is one I read and really enjoyed. She, of course, is the star herself, Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation, one of my favourite TV shows. I know Aziz Ansari, who plays Tom Haverford in that show, has also released a memoir, so if those are actors you like, then maybe that would be a nice idea. Also in The Office, I know Mindy Kaling has released one, and she plays Kelly Kapoor, of course, how could I forget? I just think that would be quite a nice and thoughtful gift to buy someone. The next oddly specific category I have written down is for the lovers of Jane Eyre. Now, Jane Eyre is a very famous story and many people are very fond of it because it is one they might have read growing up and it's just, you know, a rather good classic. And I have two books relating to this category, the first of which is an anthology of short stories created by Tracy Chevalier, and they all take place within the Jane Eyre world, and it's called Reader, I Married Him, which is a very famous line from the book. I've only read, I think, 3 of these, so I can't give my opinion of the book as a whole, but I think it's also quite a nice gift idea. It's a beautiful hardcover edition, if you can get your hands on it, and short stories are always a good shout, because people can read one, dip in and out. Alternatively, you could buy them Wide Sargasso Sea. This is one I have mentioned before, and it takes place before Jane Eyre, and it is about the mad woman in the attic who we kind of meet, but not really, but gives a backstory on it, and I think this is fantastic. I think partially the reason I love it so much is because the teacher who taught this to us was amazing. I read this as a part of year 12 English Lit for A-level, and I'm really glad I did because it was a good time. So for lovers of Jane Eyre. So the next category I have is if you have to buy a present for a young child, I'd say maybe like under the age of 12, and they're one who likes reading, then I would recommend getting them some childhood classics. Now, I've got 3 examples here because these are all books I read in my youth. They're all ones which I have very fond associations with my childhood, and I think they're all beautifully written and all stories that all children should be familiar with. The examples I have are 101 Dalmatians. They've also got great films, so that's an incentive. Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, of course, like this is such a magical story. And finally, possibly my favourite childhood book of all time, The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. I love this book so much. It basically follows some animals in the winter time, their lives, some of the drama that goes down. Shout out to Mr. Toad. This is just a wonderful story. It is so beautifully, poetically written, but I think it is still made very accessible for young children, and I love it. And also it's very wintry, so what better time of the year to buy it and read it. By the way though, if you're an adult and you haven't read The Wind in the Willows, you're never too old, in my opinion. So get yourself a copy, treat yourself. The next category I've got is for the lovers of science. There are so many fantastic books like encyclopedias and fact books that you can find in most bookshops, to be honest, and this is just an example of one. I found this in my brother's room, I think it belongs to him, and it's got lots of nice facts and colours and pretty pictures. I think this is a very good present idea which spans across the ages because you can buy it for someone who's very young and just getting interested into the subject, or you can buy it for someone who's older and knows a little bit more and can read something a little bit more sophisticated. Alternatively, if they are a little bit too young for very dense scientific books, you could get them George's Secret Key to the Universe. This used to be one of my favourite books of all time. What it basically is a story about a boy, but it's laced with a lot of scientific facts, and between chapters sometimes you'll find these pages all about like black holes and all of that interesting stuff, and with beautiful pictures. Now the scientific elements of this book mainly deal with the topic of black holes and space and stars and all of that, and the reason for that is because this book is written by Lucy Hawking and Stephen Hawking. I'm sure many of you will be very familiar with those names. Stephen Hawking is of course a very famous scientist who's made many fantastic discoveries. I recently watched, what's it called, The Theory of Everything with Eddie Redmayne, which is the film about his life, and it was really touching and amazing. Anyway, I digress. This book is the perfect mix of fiction and science, described in a way which isn't too complicated to understand even at a very young age. It's also got these really adorable cartoons, and on top of that, the story is just rather entertaining. So I think this would be a rather lovely present for someone a bit younger. So the next category I have written down is for that friend who, for want of a better description, thinks they're really alternative and hip. Now please don't get offended by that, I definitely fall under that category as well. You could get them The Little Book of Hygge. Now I've spoken about this many a time. It is this way of living taught by the Danish, which is all about being happy by surrounding yourself with a certain vibe and aesthetic and coziness, and this book is full of scientific facts and evidence, as well as beautiful photography and tips and guides to living your best life, which is quite a nice and cozy, Christmassy feeling book. The guy who wrote this released another book of a similar type this year, so if they already have heard of Hygge, you could get them that. It's just quite a fun little book, and it's very easy reading, and it's one that you can kind of just have on your coffee table for people to read when they feel like it. The next category I've written down is just for the nerds and fangirls, which I suspect a lot of you will fall under. This is mainly a category for those who love certain cinematic universes, such as like Star Wars and Star Trek and Lord of the Rings. You get the vibe. I definitely fall under this category, and I think a wonderful gift idea for this one is to get them encyclopedias or books exploring the universe and the films, because a lot of the time these universes are so expansive and there's so much stuff you could miss out on. So you could get them something like this. Now I found this in my brother's room. I think I actually bought this for him last Christmas. This is The Ultimate Guide to the Cosmic Outlaws, and it's all about all the different characters in Guardians of the Galaxy. And there's plenty of books like this. I know Marvel have released an abundance of books all about their different characters and superheroes. That could be a nice idea. As someone who doesn't really know the Marvel universe that much, that's not so much for me. I'll tell you what is for me though. Star Wars. I can only find our Star Wars books on Attack of the Clones and The Phantom Menace, which, you know, ideally wouldn't be the ones I'd be showing you because, you know, they're not the greatest thing on the planet. However, they give you the idea. Get them a book in the Star Wars universe if they love Star Wars, or get one for yourself. There are so many encyclopedias on all the characters. I find it incredibly interesting. By the way, side note, Star Wars 8, The Last Jedi, comes out so soon, in like a week's time, and I'm so excited. Oh my god, there's so many questions which The Force Awakens left very much unanswered. So if you're just as excited for The Last Jedi as I am, let me know, hit me up. We can talk about theories and predictions. It's gonna be so good. The next book I want to mention, I don't really know how to categorize it, I guess, for the people who love Lego. I just really wanted to mention this book because my brother got it for his birthday a few years ago, and I had a look at it and it's so interesting and I love it. Basically, it is a very thorough history of Lego, and it goes through like when Lego was first founded in the 1960s, 1970s, and it goes through what Lego first looked like compared to what they look like today and how it's developed, and it goes through all the different universes within the Lego world and just all the figurines, and it's so interesting. So if you love Lego, this is the one for you. My final category to wrap up this gift guide is for the lovers of books, which I hope all of you watching this are. This is a book called 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die. And this book is just a collection of synopsises. Synopsi? It's a collection of descriptions of all these different books which are just either very famous or are very groundbreaking or are just good reads, and it stretches from books written in like the 14th, 15th centuries all the way to present day. It is done chronologically, so there should be something in this for everyone, and I've referred to it several times to either find a recommendation or to read up on a book that I want to read or that I've already read. And those are all the books I have to recommend today, either for you to buy for yourself or for a friend. I hope this has given you some inspiration for the festive season. Let me know if you know of any of these books, or if you're going to buy any of these books, or what books you are giving or receiving this Christmas. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon.